And first up on my to-do list, 221B Baker Street. If you're a Sherlock Holmes fan, you'll know what that address is. But it's the Sherlock Holmes Museum. Kind of made it look like a late Victorian era town home, appropriately decorated. Interestingly enough, it's not at 221B Baker Street, because when the novels were written, there was no 221B Baker Street. And actually now it's at 239 Baker Street. But they had the address changed. It's kind of cool in here. Doesn't take a whole lot of time to visit this. You can see the whole thing in about an hour. Gonna go in here. They've got a lot of like crime-solving memorabilia and artifacts displayed. Looking out over Baker Street. There he is, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. I like it here. Get a closer look. You can see they have a pistol inside of a book. Some other odds and ends. And I come up here. She's real, but everybody else in here isn't. It's all wax figures, different characters from the books, with Sherlock and Watson in the corner. So we went from Baker Street to Green Park, and we have the Bomber Command Monument. Commemorates the 55,573 men who died serving in the Bomber Command during World War II. Very powerful. Go from Green Park to Hyde Park, and this is a memorial for all the men who died in World War I in the Royal Regiment of the Artillery. And the red wreaths are for Remembrance Day. And nearby you have Apsley House, the town home for the Dukes of Wellington. You have to take a tour of this house if you get a chance, just to see the statue of Napoleon. And across the street there's a statue for Arthur Wellesley, the Duke of Wellington that defeated Napoleon at Waterloo. And Wellington Arch commemorates the victory. And you can actually go to the top of the arch, and has a pretty good view of the park, so across the street. And look, kids, there's Big Ben, there's Parliament. Westminster Palace. It's where the two houses of Parliament meet. The House of Commons and the House of Lords. The backside of Parliament. There's a statue for Oliver Cromwell, the man who overthrew Charles I, and then had his head cut off by Charles II posthumously. They dug up his body and cut his head off and put it on a spike. True story. This is something I came across by accident, the Jewel Tower. It's one of the original structures from the original Westminster Palace that burnt down. Take a tour of it. It was built originally to house the personal treasure of Edward III. I just kind of used that for several years after that. And then it was used as a storing place for records from Parliament. After that, it was used for the Department of Weights and Measures. And then finally converted into the museum you see now. Nice little distraction. Very cool inside, and it takes, I don't know, 45 minutes to an hour to tour, so it's if you want to kill some time between your visit to Parliament and your next stop, definitely check this out. It's worth it. And the famous Westminster Abbey. You couldn't take any photos or video inside here, so I can't show you what it looks like, but it's pretty spectacular. It's where most of the kings and queens of England are buried. In the side view of the Abbey, some of the statues and the architecture, very cool. Another clock. In the Canada Gate, entrance to Hyde Park. It's a gift from the people of Canada. And Buckingham Palace, that very famous gate you've seen so many times. The Queen Victoria Monument with the Winged Victory statue up on top, and the 4 statues that represent peace, progress, agriculture, and manufacture. Now for the changing of the guards. I wasn't able to get any video of what happened inside, the ceremony, but I did get some really good shots of the marching in and the marching back out. So sit back and enjoy. Here they come.
Into quick time. Quick time.
418 miles from London to Tipperary. Not really that far in modern times, but back then it must seem like a long, long way. And there they go. Where? I do not know. And a relatively new but very well known and familiar London landmark, the London Eye, also known as the Millennium Wheel. It was built in 1999. It was only supposed to be up for about 5 years, but now it's permanent. It's about 445 feet tall. Goes around. It takes about a half an hour to make one rotation, but during that half hour you get some spectacular views of the city. I definitely wanted to do this at night. As you can see why. Looks beautiful. It's about 25 people in each one of these cards. One last view of the Thames River, Parliament, Big Ben. And that's pretty much the end of my first day in London. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please hit like and subscribe. Notifications. We'll have more travel videos coming up soon. Some more pop culture content. Thank you so much. And as I like to say across the pond, adios.